Hi guys, so I've had quite a few questions about the Feiyu-Tech G3 Ultra handheld gimbal in regards to what you can do for filming low shots. Can it actually be turned upside down? So obviously normal orientation for this would be you'd be holding it like this, you've got your button there, blah 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 blah. But people are interested to know whether you can actually hold it upside down or orientate it upside down so you can do some nice low tracking shots. Now, the immediate answer to that is yes, with an if. It's quite a large if. So I'll turn it on first and foremost. And we'll just let it initialize. Okay, so we're up and running. So as you can see, it's doing what it does, stabilizing. All good. Now, if we were to move it down here, you can see that yes, the answer to the question is technically speaking you could suspend it down there. Problem is, if you're using a GoPro, which you're going to be, you're going to get a whole camera full of motor, which is no good. Now with other Feiyu-Tech gimbals you've been able to actually change the motor configuration by moving the brackets around. Now I've played around with this a little bit and unfortunately it doesn't seem to work in the same way as it once did. What I've done here, which is probably a little bit hard to see, is I've marked the top of the motors because these motors actually, it turns out, have a specific orientation. So that is to say there's 4 holes and 4 screw points on the back of this plate here. Now if I wanted to, I could turn it upside down, for example. Problem is that would glitch out. Now I tried this where you can actually hold it upside down and unfortunately it would almost do it, but it would still start twitching, and I believe unfortunately that there are some IMU sensors that are inside the motor houses on here which are just too sensitive to be able to do it. So the alternative to this, as you can see here, is of course it does work absolutely fine if you're holding it down here. Now of course that means you're going to be scooching along the floor and it's going to be a bit of a pain to get to. What I would suggest for those who are really interested in actually doing this is a very simple solution. Get yourself a good old-fashioned microphone stand clip like this, clip that on to the handle, and then you've obviously got the option of having a threaded pole here. What you do is you attach a nice long pole, and by doing that you've got yourself a nice well weighted low down gimbal which you can use for just sort of scooting along the ground if you wanted to, and that works absolutely fine and there's no modifications. I will continue to have a play around with the IMU configuration. The biggest problem, and I'll turn it off to show you, is if you did really want to get this working so it was working upside down like this, obviously what you'd want to do is you'd want to turn this around so the camera was facing outwards. Now the problem is with that, if we look, this is the IMU sensor, the main IMU sensor. It knows its orientation. So what you would really need to do is you would have to grab this bracket, take the 4 screws off this bracket, you'd then turn it around so it was this way round. But the problem is as soon as you do that, your IMU is upside down. So what you're then going to have to do is you're going to have to undo the IMU, reverse that out. Now that is doable, but when you reverse it out, you've got to remember if we were flipping this around, this cable is no longer going to be hugging this edge, it's going to be out here. And the problem is this cable will not support having it all the way back here and all the way out by my finger here. It's just not quite long enough. And the other problem that I found is that the orientation of these, what happens is you get a slight tripping. It sort of knocks like this, but when you actually do a reversal of it. So is it possible? Yes, maybe, if you do a lot of fiddling with it. Are you going to want to have that permanent solution so you can't actually pick the thing up and use it properly? Personally, I would argue no, you're not going to want it. So for me, the best way is to keep it stock, keep it standard, don't mess around with it, and then just adopt a nice simple solution, something like this, which just allows you to just put another bar on it. And like I say, that with a long bar on it, you'd be able to just scoot that along the floor, and you get some nice low end shots. Obviously the longer the pole, the more you can do with it really, and when you want to use it again you can just take it off, unclip it, job's good, and you're back using your gimbal. So anyway, that's my 5 cents, as it were, on doing that. Hopefully that's come of handy to those of you who are thinking of buying this.